Hello everyone, welcome to the Advancement Centre and welcome to the world of magic and miracles, where once again we join with one another to experiment a little and to enjoy the interaction of our fields, even though it may be at a long distance. The elegance of each being is no longer in question, and the love that we all have for the life that we share is growing every minute. The focus has moved forward, and we now live consciously in a world of magic and miracles, and occasionally extend ourselves well past that to the world beyond worlds, where everything works perfectly. The tools that allow us to get through life exist freely in a world of magic and miracles, and they are nothing like the tools that you use in your commercial and industrial complexes, in your interaction in business, or in your persuasion of one another. The tools available to you, you put there, and you're now introducing that special smile, that little dance, that piece of excitement, little bit of mischief. And that immense love, even for someone you have never seen before. Each one of these things is a tool that you brought into the world. And now we're all watching. We're watching one another, and we're watching everything around us to see what comes next. The focus has changed. It's universal. It's beyond logic. And it is controlled by nothing but your own spirit, which is attracted by the excitement that comes with being in the world of magic and miracles. That excitement has no definition, but it's totally obvious to everyone. And it brings a smile to your face as soon as it's mentioned. And the fact that we can feel one another's fields, feel the exotic pleasure of just being allowed to mingle with somebody else, even if it might be for a few seconds. The beauty of that interaction between all species is now coming to us every day in our appreciation of the animals, the birds, the sea life, and plants themselves. As we discover new ways to enhance our communication, we find that we're actually starting to prove that what we do without even thinking is a reality that can be repeated in some form by some piece of technology. We can listen to the trees, we can listen to the plants. We can get sense out of how people interact with other species. And in that, we find that we don't have to make sense out of anything. Our own interaction is what it's all about. The one that we determine every time we present ourselves in any situation, in any time, and in any space. So now we're moving towards presenting ourselves in what we call space, in presenting ourselves to other beings, into other planets, other civilizations. We're preparing for this, and we have been for a long time. And it's actually starting to happen. The more precise you are with how you present yourself, the better understanding you have about the fact that you can see through other means the things that are invisible to the everyday eye. And it sounds a little strange to the brain, to the thought pattern, but it's not strange when you feel something. You see something move past you and you don't have an image for it. And now we're starting to say we can prove this. You can feel them. You can put your hand out and touch something that's not there. You can interact with me through the computer, through the internet, and you can feel. But in fact, it's not going through anything. It's our instantaneous, permanent connection and communication that comes from our origin. So every second you put into raising the energy of what you think is yourself, you're raising the energy for everyone. And when we talk about precision, everyone knows exactly what I mean. Their field, their energy, the feeling that comes from them is precise. And it doesn't run into anything or anyone. And as they say in the country, it doesn't ruffle or rustle any feathers. It leaves everything as it is. And as we recap on many of the things that the masters have done over the years, everyone knows that simple thing of not leaving a footstep wherever you've been, not leaving a footprint, and not leaving any damage. But further than that, we are the ones that make sure everything grows properly, is in order, looks good, feels good. So we leave everything in a better state than when we touched it. That is our nature. That is how we enhance one another, and we enhance one another's fields by keeping the things tidy that somebody else doesn't see. You actually make a difference, because the overall picture of your world is then in order. And what you generate is exactly to the standard that you brought to the world. As we deliver more things, we spread further. And we find that what we thought was a mystery is now becoming a solid reality. We didn't know that you can sit quietly, focus for a fraction of a second on one thing in the world, and you can change it, enhance it, make it beautiful, and make it perfect, and you'll get an immediate response. That should be sufficient so that you can get on with the next thing. One immediate response after another is pretty good. And the field that we're building right now is rather enormous. It will bring you that power that we spoke about called health. That enormous power that keeps everything in line, precise, and in order to your standard. A standard that nobody can match. And a standard that everybody respects because it's yours. So know that standard. Feel it. And you don't have to live with it. It's part of you. You don't have to adjust. It is who you are. And you'll find that your standards surpass any that's ever been made in any human form by any language at all. So now that we can see, we don't have to do. Because as you see, it appears. And that to the brain is a little hard to get hold of. But as you see, by the means that we've been speaking about, all the thousands of inputs and outputs, the trillions of them that come and go from our body, and from the majestic being that we represent, all those thousands of inputs and outputs have a function in there that allows you to see and feel and know a reality that has not been built out of nothing. It is the total reality. Total reality that came from nowhere and is always there. And it consists of everything. Every picture, everything you look at, every aspect of your life, every aspect of everyone's life, and every aspect of the universe. We're truly marvelous beings. And to be able to handle all that in the blink of an eye really shows that you don't have to master anything. You already are the master. And in this physical world, you can be the master and the slave all at the same time. You can decide what you want to build, what you want to take on as real or unreal. But it's best if you don't decide anything and you just live. Then it all sorts itself out. And it's a lot of fun from both sides. Particularly if you've got the right people around you. You'll find that you see yourself not through their eyes, but in the field that they present to you. And you'll often find that you have a feeling that they're not quite up to standard. If you quickly recap and find out how that works, you'll see that it's you that's not up to standard. And a fraction of a second later, you can be perfect. And so will they. Because we deliver perfection in everything we do. And if we're a little shy of that, it will reflect in everything around us. The old system of saying there must be something wrong out there, or somebody's doing something wrong, or it's the system, or it's them, really doesn't work. And if you know that it doesn't work, you've given yourself the power to decide what works and what doesn't work. And if you take that further, you've given yourself the power to make sure everything works. Because you're not in control by any action, you're in control because that's who you are. The elegance of your being will never let you down. And it never needs to prove anything. And it will never follow a logical thought pattern. But it will follow the one that makes you smile. That bit of stupidity, that little inflection of an interaction with a child, or even just the love of a flower. Or the gratification of a job well done. You might just do a small little job to make things work better, to fix some mechanism in your kitchen. Each time you see it, you'll burst with pride because it cost you little and you did it all yourself. It's like a young child trying to tie their shoelaces. You cannot convince them that they can't do it. And even though they wriggle the laces around and then let it go and it all falls out, they still believe they've done a job of tying their laces. And eventually they will tie their laces in a way that's slightly different to you. They'll follow you and then they'll put a twist on it and make it so it's theirs. Or if you do tighten them up, they will go down and pull them again themselves. Because it's that personal gratification that comes to them each time they look at their shoes. And they almost bounce out of them with excitement. We are demonstrating that type of thing in our life right now, the same as a child does. Everything we touch exudes our character, our well-being, our happiness, and our desire for everybody else's happiness. And we're not looking for anybody to pat us on the back, but we love them to listen when we say, wow, I did a good job there. And they smile like you do. And the world is a better place once again. I can't express enough the power of these small things that I'm talking about. That simplicity goes into everything. It stretches beyond all imagination before you can actually understand what it's done. It's faster than the fastest computer. It registers things that you would not believe. I don't know if you've ever played card games on your computer, but most people have. And eventually they get good at it. And they can see something in the moves ahead, even though there's no indicator. They can decide on a particular move without having any data. And they can solve these games without a thought, because they're actually surpassing the computer itself. And they're preempting what's coming next. And they play the game and win without any instructions. So more and more, you'll find that they have to keep changing the games because humanity is preempting everything. We do the same thing in deciding whether we should hop in the car. We might find ourselves delaying a little or saying we've got to go now, because that little few seconds is enough to change the whole picture of your trip, from one of pleasure to not so pleasurable. But we all know when it's time to go, when it's time not to go. We all know that we can wake up at the right time without a clock. And it'll be the right time based on what we want to do, not necessarily the right time by the clock. We can tell what's happening with the weather. A fisherman can wake up in the morning and say, it's no use going out today, there'll be no fish. Or a sailor can say, well, we're going to win today. It's going to be a good day. And they know, and it works, and it happens. That is the simplicity that accesses that supercomputer I write about. The supercomputer that works by itself. The one that takes no effort, no thought, nothing to reason, and works perfectly. Works perfectly every time, instantly, and it will surpass time and gather the people, the facilities, and the circumstances into your world to give you whatever experience you're destined to experience at that time. So now we enter a new field, one that's full of harmony and precision, with an inbuilt desire to see and feel beyond what we do right now, no matter how far advanced we may be. We desire to go further. And in that desire, there's always someone alongside you, both visible and invisible, to encourage you on the way, to give you a lead, and to make sure that you don't turn back and look at the past to try and figure out the future. As we step into the future, we recognize it. We recognize it because we made it, but we didn't make it by referring to the old. We made it out of nowhere, from nothing, and we brought it into the physical world. Many of the things that are developed, technically or otherwise, have actually been through a process with you before they even appear. How many times have you picked up something to try and operate it, and you say, this is not on the market anymore because it's not the way it was supposed to be? You can't use the controls easily. It's not intuitive. But in fact, someone had gone outside the general plan and decided they would do it and force it on everyone without their authority. So everything appears in the marketplace by your authority. All the children's toys and the colours and low-priced, very expensive dolls and games and cars are in the supermarkets at a ridiculously low cost because the children won't go there unless everything meets their specification. Have a look at that for power. Have a look at the millions of dollars that are spent to make sure that the kids recognise something in somebody's store and they can get it at a price that is ridiculously low. And if you try to build any part of that, the components will exceed the cost of the item, let alone the packaging. So there's a power that is within each one of us. And the more we see, the more will come about. Where you come from, you only have to see a chair and it's there. Instantaneous appearance of whatever you need. Because it all exists, it's just a different set of frequencies. And as you get to feel that you have the precision to adjust these frequencies, you will bring things into reality that are either new or identical to something that's already here. Things will appear in your cupboard that you didn't put there. And they may even have a supermarket label on them. But in fact, you have brought into your world the capability to do more than any manufacturer will ever do in this world. So don't hesitate to stretch yourself forward a little bit further. Encourage one another. Try things, they'll never go wrong. Stretch into not just the possibilities, but into the reality of where you came from. Into the reality that we have a power that is beyond anything you could ever know. And each one of us is in control of that power, our own. And we have the authority to do what we need with that power and not disturb anyone. So go further and remember, nothing about the past, Respect everybody because they are the future. Not because of what they did, but what they're going to do. And love one another as you've never loved before. And in saying that, please accept from us a total wish for you for a perfect life, perfect health, and an extremely magic future. Thank you.